So I got on the toilet and I was all of a sudden feeling a very different sensation than pooping. This girl is 1 month old today. So I thought I would sit down and record my birth story. When I was gonna go into labor, I had these audacious plans of like filming and recording to remember the labor, not like, you know, the private stuff, but you know, the story, so I could remember it. But when we got into it, it all happened so fast, and getting out the camera was like the furthest thing from my mind. So here we are. Ocean Eliza Schindler is 1 month old today, and I thought it was the perfect time to record the birth story. Without further ado, let's get into it. So a little bit of backstory with our 2 older kids. The birth and the pregnancy, the labor, all of it was pretty traumatic for me. I didn't have a great experience. Atlas had a shoulder dystocia. I was induced with him on my due date, and after 24 hours of labor and 4 hours of pushing, he was stuck in the birth canal. He was vacuumed out and he broke his arm in the process. He swallowed the meconium. He had to go under the blue lights. He was in the NICU for a few days. We had to actually go home without him for a night, which was really hard. With Isle, the doctor recommended that we do a C-section. So he was C-sectioned like 3 or 4 days before my due date. And that was an incredibly difficult recovery. I spent like 9 months with no feeling in my abdomen. I had Atlas at home, who was about 15 and a half months old when I was born. I couldn't pick him up because he was over the weight limit, so that was really challenging. I just knew I didn't want to do a C-section this time. I really wanted this birth to be an opportunity to kind of reclaim, you know, what birth and labor and delivery mean to me. I'm a lot older now. I had Atlas when I was 20 and Isle when I was 21. I'm 27 now, and I just feel like I've learned a lot, especially about kind of the medical system and the way doctors, you know, might push you into something you don't want to do for their benefit or for the hospital's benefit over your personal benefit. With her, I really don't want to do a medicated birth. I really wanted to go all natural. We had a friend recommend a doula to us, and we didn't have a doula the last 2 times, and the doula was honestly a game changer. I think it was like $500, but it was out of pocket. It wasn't like an insurance cost. So this person was truly working for us. We paid her, the hospital didn't pay her, which is a difference between a doula and like a midwife or a doctor. She was 100% like my advocate. She was on my team through and through, and she met with us several times before the delivery, and we let her know kind of what we wanted and going unmedicated and not having a C-section. And also that this was a VBAC, a vaginal birth after cesarean, which makes a lot of people nervous, but she had already had successfully delivered 3 VBACs herself, so I knew she was the right person to have on our team. She had us kind of make a birth plan and all the stuff, you know, like you do before you have a baby, and like my birth plan included things like, okay, I'm gonna go into labor, and then we're gonna have a campfire, and then I'm gonna go on the steamer and take a steamer, and then I'm gonna go to Sprouts and I'm gonna buy, you know, parsley so I can make some tabbouleh for the hospital. And I had like these big plans for all the things I wanted to do in labor. Did you spit up? Hang on. Quick feed, but we're good now. This little lady eats it out. Anyways, so yeah, we had all these big plans of what birth was gonna look like, but when it actually hit, it was Monday night, and we had baseball practice that night for Atlas, so I was doing the curb walking, doing all of the things to go into labor. Bless you. My due date was that Saturday, and this was Monday night. And so I was doing the curb walking. We got home, you know, I had been eating pineapples and dates and trying to do all the old wives' tales. We got home. Scott was doing like the pressure points on my feet. I'd never really heard that before, but he read something about it. So he was doing the pressure points on my feet, and then we were like, why don't I try dry pumping? I've heard that's a thing. So just with our little handy dandy Haka, the little manual hand pump, I dry pumped on both boobs for like an hour, and hopefully that was gonna help. And we put the boys to bed, went to bed like normal. And you know, I was feeling something the last couple days, you know, that night and the night before. I was both like, something feels different, like I feel like I'm getting close. And the whole week before, I had no ability to like mentally focus on anything. I was very in tune on just like making food. Like I was prepping so much food for after delivery and freezing it, and I don't know why, that just felt so important. So that day I like couldn't get any work done on my computer. I was just totally focused on, I guess my body knew like I needed to be preparing for delivery, and that was the way I was preparing. So we went to bed like normal, and around like 11:45 I woke up and I was pretty uncomfortable in bed, and to the point of like not being able to sleep. And I was like, I'm gonna go take a nice warm shower. And like, it's not unheard of for me to wake up in the middle of the night and go take a warm shower if I'm uncomfortable. because with my first two, I hadn't gone into spontaneous labor, I wasn't really sure what to expect or what it was gonna feel like, because I hadn't, even though I had 2 kids, I hadn't experienced that before. So I went and I got in the shower, and I was in there for probably half an hour, you know, good sized shower, and I got out and I was uncomfortable. I couldn't go back to sleep. I started pacing, and Scott woke up, and we were like, like maybe this is it. And I started having contractions, and they were progressively more intense. Scott was timing them on his phone, and you know, he's like, this many minutes apart means this, and you know, I couldn't pay attention to any of that. I had no idea how many minutes apart the contractions were supposed to be before we called someone. You know, I told him that was 100% his job, so he was very focused on timing, and everything became very consistent. He called our doula, and I was a little hesitant to call her because it was like the middle of the night and I wasn't sure if it was labor, but he called her and she was like, you know, keep timing it, try and have her lay down and get some rest, give it 30, 45 minutes, and if it's still happening, like I'm gonna head over there. So we continued. I tried to lay down and sleep, and that wasn't happening. I laid down for like 3 contractions, and I was just very uncomfortable. I had to stand up and just pace in our bedroom, and I would brace myself kind of on the bed for each contraction. And so when the time had gone by, I talked to the doula again, and she headed over. It was time to have a baby. We were definitely in active labor. So by the time the doula got there, it had been like maybe an hour since all this started. It was probably getting close to 1 in the morning, and I got in our downstairs bathtub because it was very intense and the warm water just felt good. And at first I was a little bit shy that the doula was coming over and like gonna see me naked at the top. And I just had to kind of put that fear right in my pocket, put that anxiety in my pocket, because she was gonna see it all, being there for my delivery with that Scott. He was the only person in the room besides the medical staff, but with this one I was having this other lady there, and she came in, saw me in the bathtub, you know, naked, and that was just the start. So she got there and she was kind of talking me through when I was in the bathtub and kind of encouraging me to, you know, go on all fours and try this and roll over and whatnot. And you know, after like 20 minutes of her being there while I was laboring in the bathtub at home, she was like, yeah, I think we should go to the hospital. And that was kind of unexpected to me, because previously we had discussed, you know, laboring at home for as long as possible, and I had only been laboring for like an hour, maybe an hour and a half. And she was like, yeah, I think we need to go to the hospital, just get things checked out. We can always come home if it's, you know, if you're really early on in labor. And I was like, okay. So Scott got everything put together, the bags and everything, so we could go. And I kissed Atlas and Isle goodbye in their beds. I didn't wake them up, but you know, Grandpa Jason was downstairs, so we just let him know, like, hey, we're going to the hospital. So we had to drive over in the minivan. I did have a couple contractions in the minivan, and that was not fun, but luckily the hospital is like literally on our same road. So we only had to drive, you know, 2 minutes up the road, and got to the hospital. They wheeled me up to the labor and delivery triage and realized I was already 8 centimeters dilated by the time we got there. And I mean, we had only been in labor for 2 hours. They checked me out and they put the band on me and did all the things. And like up in that room, like it was just so uncomfortable for me to lay down also. They got me back to my own private room when they realized I was 8 centimeters. Like I was not leaving at that point. And yeah, it was so uncomfortable to lay down on the bed, and like that's where I had to be for them to put the monitors on me and stuff. So I was just like up and moving, and the doula had me like go on all fours and then try the birthing bar and then try the squat ball and like do all the different things, just moved around the entire time, which was necessary. And she would kind of put pressure like on my back or on my hips, like she would push down on my hips or on my lower back during my contractions, which was really helpful. They came in and checked me, my water hadn't bursted yet, and you're like, you're still at 8 centimeters, you're still at 8 centimeters, that's fine. And then just while on all fours on the bed, eventually the water bag did burst, and that was a gush, and I hadn't felt that sensation really with Atlas when I was being induced. The doctor had burst my water bag, so it was like anticipated. And then with Isle, I had a C-section, so I never felt that sensation. Honestly, that was something I was looking forward to with delivery, was to like feel that spontaneous like water bag burst. I don't know why, it felt like a rite of passage. So feeling that on all fours and being a big, you know, messy thing, obviously. After that, the doula had encouraged me to get in the bathtub because I had to get a shower and a bath at the house, and it was helping a lot. And they told me I was only 8 centimeters centimeters not to start pushing or I was gonna tear. She put me in the bathtub to help soothe me. And when I was in the bathtub, she didn't want me to sit on my behind. She wanted me to be on all fours and flip over and flip over. And honestly, I was only in the bathtub for maybe 1 minute, and then I was like, I need to poop. Like, I need to go to the bathroom right now. And I guess that's a sign the baby's coming, but like they said, it was only 8 centimeters and I shouldn't start pushing. So I got on the toilet and I was all of a sudden feeling a very different sensation than pooping, and I was like, like, help, help. And Scott and the doula came in, and the doula started calling for the nurses, and the nurses called for the doctors, and they were like, she's, what did they say? Unconscious delivery? No, it wasn't, what did they say? Whatever, it was basically, the body was basically like ejecting the baby without me trying to push at that point. So obviously the medical staff does not prefer to have me pushing on the toilet or to have the baby on the toilet. The nurses were like, okay, like in between contractions, we want to get you over to the bed. And I was like, I don't think that's gonna happen. And so I was, you know, on the toilet, and the baby's head came out when I was like standing over the toilet. So the doctor walks in and she looks down, she's like, you need to drop down on all fours right now. And I was like, So I dropped down on all fours on the bathroom floor, and she's like, okay, like the cord's around the neck, you need to get this baby out. And the next push, you have 1 push to get this baby out. And I pushed, and that baby came right out. We pushed for less than a minute total, like maybe 2 pushes, and the baby came out. What I was envisioning the whole time was like a chicken, like a raw whole chicken that you buy at the store. That's what it felt like coming out of me. I don't know why that's what I was thinking of. But the cord was wrapped around her neck, and she did swallow like a bunch of the poop. There was like a lot of the baby meconium all over the place, so that wasn't cool. And they had to like put her in the bedside, like incubator right away, and put the tube down her neck to like pump the meconium out. What? What? You talking? You saying hello to the people? Hello. They called it a shoulder dystocia, which Scott was really upset about, which, you know, whatever. I don't really care what they say. She was out and she was fine, but because like on the first push, her whole head was out except her chin. Her chin was still like tucked in there for another push. They called it a shoulder dystocia, which like, in my mind, a shoulder dystocia means the baby's stuck and they, you know, I've had trouble getting her out, but I guess whatever happened qualified as a shoulder dystocia. The doctor wasn't sure one way or the other, but she's like, I'm just gonna write it in the file to be safe, which is annoying because if we ever chose to have another baby, they would see like, oh, she's had 2 shoulder dystocias, and that would give us a lot of pushback on, you know, trying to have a vaginal delivery in the future, but whatever, that's what they said happened. They put the baby in the incubator right next to me, and the pediatricians were in there doing their thing, and they had to cut the cord right away, which I was not wanting to do. That wasn't part of my birth plan. I wanted to do the delayed cord clamping because I read online it was better for the baby to wait until it was totally drained and white, but because she swallowed the meconium, they had to cut it right away. And I was a little stressed out. I mean, she was only in that incubator thing for like 5 or 10 minutes total. But when you just had a baby, like it feels like a lifetime, and I really wanted to have that initial like baby go straight on my chest because I didn't have that with either of my first 2 kids. You know, they both got like whisked away, so I was really hoping for that, and I was, you know, stressed out that she wasn't with me, but she had a lot of poop in her, and they really had to get it out, and she had to delay, or she had the cord wrapped around her neck, so they were just checking, making sure she was okay. So 5 to 10 minutes goes by, I delivered the placenta, and they finally gave my baby to me. They finally gave my sweet baby to me, and all was right with the world. I wasn't able to pee after I had her, so they had to give me a catheter, which was honestly like the most painful, terrible thing. I had to have a catheter with Atlas, and What? Do you have the hiccups now? The hiccups. I think she's gonna be ready to feed again, so we're gonna have to wrap up this story pretty quick here. Had the catheter, peed, I got wheeled up to the recovery room after a while, out of the labor room, and I spent 3 nights there. They had checked me out after 2 nights, but Ocean had to be under the blue lights because she was jaundiced, which is totally normal. Scott and I both have a condition where the bilirubin doesn't exit our body as quickly as it should, so they were a little extra concerned and wanted her levels to be lower than they would have normally released the baby for, so they kept her under the lights for a few days. Scott had gone home to pick up Alice and Al to meet the baby, which was really special. They were so excited to have a baby sister, and and it was really sweet for the boys to get to meet her. They both wanted to hold her right away. They loved her from the moment she was born, and it was just really special to all of a sudden be a family of 5. Just a message for all you moms out there who maybe haven't had the birth you wanted in the past. You can rewrite that story, and don't let the medical system push you around. For the past few years, my firm belief is that doctors give opinions and moms make decisions. If you want it and you want to have another baby, your desired labor and your desired birth story, they're out there waiting for you. This was the best that could have possibly happened. You know, it was as good as it possibly could have gone. I feel incredibly grateful, and here in postpartum I've been able to exclusively breastfeed for 1 month now, which I'm really proud of. But the first 2 kids I had to pump, and Scott gave them bottles. You know, not just that, I was breastfeeding too, but she's been exclusively breastfed. I haven't felt like the sadness come, the darkness come like I felt with the first 2, and I just really feel like a lot of that is the result of like physiologically being better off. The recovery has been incredible. I mean, after like 2 or 3 weeks, the downstairs area felt just fine, which everything's just been so much better this time. I don't know if that's because my 3rd and I'm just soaking it all in more, just more grateful because I realize how short-lived it is. But I do think a lot of it has to do with the physiological effects of having a natural delivery. So I've had all 3 now. I've been induced with Pitocin and had an epidural. I've had a planned C-section and I've had a natural baby, and I can hands down say this was by far the best experience. So if you have any questions, you can always message me. It's time for a boob and a nappy, but that was the birth story. She's 1 month old today. She's totally healthy. And really and truly, I can't say enough good things about having a doula there by my side, as well as a really supportive partner who knew what my goals were and was willing and able to speak up on my behalf in the labor and delivery room. It's very intense in those moments, especially when the doctor is like pushing you to have a C-section. You know, the doctor kept saying, you shouldn't have a C-section, like you could die, the baby could die, like over and over again. And like, I was a hormonal, you know, whatever, I'm in delivery. Like, so to have Scott there being able to advocate for me and the doula there to like guide us through the process, I couldn't have done it without that, you know, amazing team. And also all the nurses were fantastic, and the doctor did what she had to do when the time came. Moms have the babies, but the support team really mattered. Okay, I'm done. She came into the world on April 30th at 4:40 in the morning. After 4.5 hours of labor, she was 19.5 inches long. She was 7 pounds, 15 ounces, and healthy and perfect. And we are so blessed and so grateful to have our sweet little baby girl here. God is good. That's it. Have a great day.